I'm Dana Denha, and you're watching FYI. It's well documented that animals have healing power. They make you feel safe, loved, and needed. And there's a place right here in Ann Arbor using the healing energy of horses. Therapeutic Riding is a safe place for people living with disabilities and physical challenges to gain strength and skills with the help of some well-trained horses.
Horseback riding is a great equalizer. It's a sport that everybody can participate in to whatever level you'd like, and that's what this organization is all about, providing access to that really incredible sport of horseback riding.
Stretch that leg. My son, Robert Graham, has been a part of Therapeutic Riding for about 17 years now. And because of the wonderful things that Therapeutic Riding offers, he is able to ride independently and do dressage patterns.
If you think of somebody with a disability who may have one side that's a little weaker or may have some coordination or balance issues, getting on the horse and simply experiencing that rhythmic movement helps fire up all of those same neurons and muscles that you would if you were going out and riding. So it provides an incredible opportunity for them to work on both sides of their bodies, skill building in all types of ways, communication skills, confidence, balance and core strength.
It gives him the opportunity to do something that he loves and to continue to grow and learn within that. The staff is incredibly supportive, and all of this happens in a supportive, safe, wonderful environment. You've made lots of friends here, haven't you?
Yes, I do.
Lots of friends.
Yes, that's events.
Yeah.
Communicating with a 1,200-pound animal takes a lot of skill. So they learn to build those skills, and it's phenomenal. It's incredible.
Okay, do that 5 more times.
The organization relies on the help of dedicated volunteers. For more info, visit therapeuticridinginc.org. Stay tuned, and we'll be back with more in exactly 30 seconds. In 2019, FYI cameras captured the best of the best in wakeboarding and wake surfing at a well-loved lake in Ypsilanti. Watch. Picturesque Ford Lake became the third stop on the Supra Boats Pro Wakeboard Tour.
We have the Pro Wakeboard Tour, which features the top 16 wakeboarders in the world and the top 6 wake surfers in the world competing head-to-head. It's a phenomenal event for wakeboarding and surfing and for the family.
It's awesome not only competing against your peers, but having a chance to compete against yourself and try to push yourself to the limits. The tour and Supra has allowed us to all come together in these awesome locations for battles.
Speaking of locales, Ford Lake was a coveted spot on the 2019 tour.
It's a tremendous site. It's level, it's deep. You're going to see some of the best wakeboarding ever. It's one of the best sites we've ever been to. They're being judged on amplitude, the size of the trick, the difficulty of the trick, and how well they execute the trick. So the judges take that all into account and give them a score, and they're posted immediately on the board so you can see how things are going. And it's just head-to-head. There'll be 4 people in each heat.
I'm trying to go as high as possible every trick, and then trying to make it look big and then aggressive.
I would say my favorite move is definitely a 720 big spin. I think it's visually pleasing and it's definitely challenging for a rider myself.
Back in on his switch toes.
They go 20 feet in the air. They're going to do double flips and back spins all in one motion. It's phenomenal that you're this close to the water to be able to see them do those kind of moves. And the surfers will do the same type thing, spinning constantly, doing 360s behind the boat without a rope. It's pretty cool to watch.
tell when he starts out right.
The Natural Area Preservation, or NAP, is dedicated to keeping our area parks thriving with the help of volunteers. Find out ways to be a nature steward in this month's City Roundup in 60.
Hi, I'm Tina Stevens, volunteer and outreach coordinator with the City of Ann Arbor's Natural Area Preservation. Our mission is to protect and restore Ann Arbor's natural areas and to foster an environmental ethic within the community. There are many ways that you can volunteer to support the natural areas, including volunteering with our breeding bird survey program, becoming a turtle steward, or taking photos as part of our photo monitoring program. You can even volunteer to join our prescribed burn crew. Most folks volunteer by attending our public work days, which take place nearly every weekend. At these events, we do things like hand pull invasive garlic mustard, cut invasive shrubs, or collect and spread native seeds. To learn more about NAP or how to volunteer with these opportunities, visit www.a2gov.org/NAP.
A couple's wedding day is supposed to be a night to remember, a story to share with loved ones, a magical moment in time. But for Courtney, all seemed perfect until the doorbell rings and perfection turns to chaos. But the memories will last a lifetime. Joining me is Laura Bird, director of PTD's production of One Slight Hitch. Welcome to the show, Laura.
Thank you.
Why don't you tell us a brief synopsis of One Slight Hitch so people sort of know what they're getting into when they come see the play at Riverside Arts Center?
Sure. I don't want to give away any important secrets, but the blurb you just read is pretty much the situation. It's wedding day at the Coleman's house. Courtney is the eldest daughter. She has recently fallen hard for her fiance, Harper. Then there's a surprise visitor that turns the whole day upside down.
What made you want to do this show? You know, as a director, it's a lot of work to put on a show. I think you're probably the hardest working member of the cast/crew because you are in control of everything. So I feel like you really have to like a show to want to direct it.
Oh, definitely. There's nothing more miserable than it's only happened to me once in my career where I was in the middle of a show I decided I didn't like after all. And I'm not only directing it, I'm designing sets and lights. So yes, I'm working. I stumbled across this show. I was looking for something else on a play leasing site, and I saw One Slight Hitch by Lewis Black, and I thought, not that Lewis Black. And I clicked, and sure enough, it was Lewis Black, the stand-up comedian. And so I like his work, and I ordered the script, and it wasn't anything that I expected. So if you love Lewis Black and his stand-up routines, it's not that harsh and caustic, but you hear his voice in almost every character. In a way, it's and so it wasn't what I expected, but I liked it, and it was just fun, and a comedy that has a little meat to it, a little something to think about, even though it's actually more than a comedy, it's a farce. So those kind of shows are my favorite, so I submitted it.
And it worked out for you. I didn't actually know that Lewis Black was a playwright until I saw this.
Yeah, I think it's his only play. It's the only one I found listed. And it's set in 1981. And Ronald Reagan is in his first year of his first presidency. And it's been quite a weird trip down memory lane for me, because there's a teenage character in it. She's 16 and I was 18 in 1981, 17, 18. So it just has been a weird connection to that time period and to have a character that age. And also we have a huge range of ages in the cast. Our eldest cast member is in her 70s, and the youngest, playing the 16-year-old, turned 18 during the rehearsal process. So that's quite the age range. And so explaining, that there's a line about bug bombs being toxic. And I remember that it was in the late 70s, early 80s that schools really started hitting that hard. And kids would come home and the parents would be, it's fine. And the kids are like, no, it's not. So just little things like that I got to explain. That's fun.
Yeah, well, and it's like always fun to have that nostalgia factor. So for audiences of people that were born already around that time, will like get to enjoy the references that they know. And like you said, it's nice even for younger people to learn new things that they wouldn't have known prior.
Right. And this had nothing to do with my decision, but the popularity of Stranger Things puts a lot of young people at least somewhat aware of the period. So it is nothing like Stranger Things, the show, except for the time period.
I also think it's nice to have a range of ages in a cast. I think it's nice for the cast too, because I think when you're, like you said, you have an 18-year-old. I think when you're around that age, you start realizing that your friends don't have to be your own age, and you end up befriending people that are much older than you or different ages from you. And you end up having a lot in common and really enjoy their company as well. Yeah,
that's about the time you realize that adults are people too, amazingly enough. Yeah. So, and Lauren, who plays the young PB, is very mature herself. So I'm not sure she needed to learn that, but it's been a delight to work with her.
Well, you mentioned that you're doing the set design too, which is, I feel like, something that's not the easiest thing in the world to tackle when you're doing a farce. Or usually the sets are pretty intricate. So talk about that aspect of it too. I mean, that's a lot of work on your shoulders.
Most of my career, I've also done the set design for whatever reason. And in some ways it makes directing easier because the design of a set really shapes the action of a play. It is the environment in which your actors move. So if you create it so you have nice, strong diagonal crosses, you have nice, strong diagonal crosses. Farces tend to involve a lot of doors. I loathe building doors because they're, easy enough in a house, I guess. But on a play set, you're not connecting to a foundation or something really solid. So fortunately, I've been able to delegate doors to somebody else. So I just have to decide where they are. I'm counting. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 doors and 2 archways. So it's not quite the minimum. The definition of a farce by some people is 5 doors. So we're cheating a little, but there's still a lot of coming and going and slamming of doors.
I don't think the audience would know or mind how many doors were actually in it.
Right. It's just
the definition of a
crazy
farce.
People like me.
Have you directed farces before, and what sort of sets this one? I mean, we're seeing a lot of farces this year at PTD in general, because from what I've heard, we're dedicated to comedy this year to bring people laughing again, which I completely agree with.
It just seemed, the play selection, I wasn't on it, but the play selection committee rightfully thought that, no one wants to come out of the den of COVID to go get slapped with catharsis. We've had enough of that. So that's kind of, we usually have a mixed season with, we always make sure we have comedy because that's the most popular. But we like to mix it up, but not this year. And the first part of that question was
What
directing
sort of
other
sets this
farces.
one apart from some of the others that we're going to see?
That's interesting. Nothing physically in the set so much. The story of the line of this is a little different. I mean, the last show we did was Rumors. And in many ways, we could have just kept that set. I mean, there are some features that a lot of features actually that both plays needed in common. But we didn't. We couldn't. So this one has a little more substance to it than Rumors, not to diss Neil Simon. I've directed and been in his works. But it just explores different things, different themes. This is really about the connection and the lack thereof of the greatest generation, because Courtney's parents are, dad went off and was a medic in World War II. Mom stayed home and chewed her fingernails off, waiting to see if her fiance / love of her life would be back, or if the war would even end ever. And then their 3 kids are growing up in a world that doesn't have that same sense of urgency. And there's a beautiful moment at the end of the play where you really get to the mom, Delia, really tries to talk to her kids and make them understand that. So I liked the intergenerational attempt to communicate, which I think is a universal theme. We can't know our parents' battles, and they can't really know ours completely.
When is the show?
It opens August 18th, and what's the ending date? That's a Thursday, and we play Thursday through Sunday the first week, and Sunday's a matinee. And then we open back up with a Wednesday matinee at 2, trying to help retirees who don't like to drive at night with an extra matinee. And we close, we play Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and they close that Saturday night. And do you know the date of that?
I think it might be the 27th, but I'm not positive.
That sounds right. Yeah, that sounds right. But I should know that. I just know when we start. I have to know that.
You'll figure out when it ends.
Will come. Once we hit that roller coaster, we just when it's done, it's done.
I mean, I always appreciate that PTD puts on so many shows, because they put on a lot of more shows than a lot of other community theaters in the area. So you have lots of chances to see whatever play is going to be on. This one sounds really interesting.
We really making a commitment to make it accessible. Thursday nights are pay what you can. So, and $1 will get you in if that's all you got to spare. And we want people enjoying live theater. It's important to us. So yeah.
Yeah, I think it's something that we all missed, honestly. I was able to see this last show, Rumors, and it was nice to just get out of the house and see some live entertainment, because it had been a long time. I was actually doing a little bit of research on this show, and did you read the story about Lewis Black and what his inspiration was behind writing this?
No, I did not find that.
So I was
you're
just
a better researcher than I am.
About how he was in a long-term relationship with this woman, and she was never going to get married. She was like, I'll never, ever get married. And then she called him a couple years later, and she's like, I found the love of my life, and now I'm getting married. And that's what sort of inspired him to write this play.
Okay, that I can see that. Yeah, interesting. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
So why don't you talk about maybe some of your highlights that you've had putting on, like, directing this play so far. You know, you're not quite at your show dates yet, so you're
Mhm.
getting close though.
Yes, yes. We get to load into the theater this coming Sunday, which when you're working on a show, you try and get as much done, both acting wise and technical support wise as you can before you have access to the theater. And then there's a certain point where you've done all you can. And then all of a sudden you're in the theater and it's like a big old log jam breaks. For the actors, all of a sudden they're not in a rehearsal hall that isn't quite as big as the stage. And the doors are real and the stairs are real. And so it's amazing how quickly actors will adapt to that, but there is an adaptation process. And then technically, I mean, we have all the flats painted and ready to go. But once we have access to that theater, oh man, we have to, we load in Sunday at 6, and by Monday at 7, it needs to be safe for actors to rehearse on. And ideally, you have all your walls and all your doors. You might not get all the doors, but it will definitely be safe, with a lot of work for the actors on Monday night. And then it's just, that's the fun part where everything starts to come together and you add more and more technical elements, and the actors start growing by leaps and bounds, and it's just so much fun.
Yeah, I think there is something to be said when you actually get out on the stage and the set and everything and feel it's different. Because I think that sometimes when you're in rehearsals for a long time, you can sort of feel like you plateau, and you need that that time when you're actually on the stage to start feeling like you can really get it back into that character again.
Yeah, especially this rehearsal period for PTD, because we auditioned in May, and it's a ridiculously long rehearsal period, that we don't really need, but everybody has summer vacations. So, we took 15, 17 days off around the 4th of July, and there've, been lots of long weekends. And but it's a very different rhythm from most rehearsal processes. Yeah.
Well, before we go, why don't you tell people why they should come to this show and enjoy this wedding day?
Well, we've all been to weddings, some of them more successful than others. So there's just the universality of that. It's very clever writing. It's very witty, as you might expect from Mr. Black. It's a strong cast. For me, it's been fun because I'm working with people I've worked with before, but also almost equally divided with people I haven't worked with before. And I've been so delighted with these newcomers to PTD. It'll be a trip down memory lane for many of us, but certainly recognizable to the younger members of the audience. And who doesn't want to laugh?
It sounds like a great fun show. I love a show that goes back in time, movies, anything like that. I love that intergenerational concept as well. I think that always gives something more depth. So I think it sounds like a night to remember, as I said earlier.
Yes, it is. Or hopefully will be.
Well, thank you, Laura, for being on the show.
Well, thank you for having me, and have a great week.
For more on this and other programs, visit a2gov.org/CTN. Visit youtube.com/CTN and Arbor to see all that we have to offer. And remember to like, subscribe, and ring that notification. Thanks for watching, and tune in next time to FYI.